is a pen tool. So essentially, I will click at one point, then I will click at another. See, it forms a line. And let's say I want to draw a triangle. So I draw another point. Just click on it. You don't need to drag or hold or anything. Just click on the point that you want to connect to. And finally, I will close the triangle like this. So you have formed a triangle, right? So what's the deal with vector? So this triangle is actually a vector. Everything you use here, the shape tools that you use in Illustrator, will form a vector. So what does vector mean? Okay, let's see. If I zoom really deep into it, you can see the resolution of the line is not altered at all, right? That means how big you want to make it, the resolution will not change. You can see that, yeah, the line is still really clear. That means if you initially work on a really small canvas, and when you try to open a new canvas and the canvas is really big, you want to make this triangle really big again in the new canvas, it won't distort the quality of the resolution in any way, since it is a vector. Okay, that's the main difference between vector and a photo. So example for a photo, let's say I open up a photo. All right, so here is a photo. And if you see, if I zoom close enough, the resolution would change. You can see that it looks really blurred because it is a photo. It is a picture, not a vector, right? So that's the difference between vector and pictures. All right, so this is the pen tool. Later on, I'll show you more of the function of pen tool while we work along to create a logo. And the next one, we have the type tool. Below this is the type tool. So type tool essentially works like what they does in Photoshop too. So you just type, if you want to type anything, you use the type tool. So let's say I click on the type tool, I click on anywhere on the canvas, and I can start typing. Let's say, right? So if I have, let's say I type something out, and if I want to adjust the size of this thing, I don't need to use Control T like you use in Photoshop to adjust the size. I can directly use the direct selection tool. I can just drag this out, right, like this. But the problem with just dragging it out like that would distort the proportion of the image or the things that you are moving. So if you want to maintain the proportion, you use Shift. Hold Shift while you drag this out. So the whole thing, the proportion will be correct, right? Okay, so for type tool, you can change the font just like how you change in Photoshop. If you see up here, we have the font up here. You can just choose any font that you like. Let's say I would like it to be this font. And actually you can choose you want it to be bold, regular or not. Just the same as how you would edit in Microsoft Word or other softwares. And here is the size. You can choose the size using the points here to like just type in how large you want the image to be. 100 points, so the thing will be this large. But you can also use the direct selection tool and the selection tool to adjust the size itself. All right. So the next tool after the font tool is the line segment tool. Okay. Line segment tool essentially just draw lines. The line would function almost like the pen tool. Okay. So the difference in the sense is that it draws a line and you need to drag the line like this. It's different as compared to using a pen tool in which you click on 2 points. While using a line segment tool, you drag it to form a line. And there's one hack and one cheat code, I would say, to teach you all using a line segment tool. is that if you want to draw a vertical or a horizontal line, you can just click and hold shift and drag along. So the line will be vertical here. Same as if you want to draw it horizontal. Click, hold it, and click on shift, just and drag. Same as how you would do when you are dragging, resizing the font or the shapes to make sure the proportion is correct. You use shift for it to be straightly horizontal or vertical, or even 45 degrees, like this. All right. After the line segment tool, we have the shape tools. Shape tools, we have many things. We have rectangle, rounded rectangle, ellipse, and other things. Rectangle tool, like what I have shown just now, you can draw a rectangle using it. Just drag it out. But if you want to draw a square, you can just do the same as how you would do to make sure the proportion is correct when you are resizing. Hold on shift while you drag. That's it, you get a square. And other things like the polygon tool. So essentially, it allows you to draw a regular polygon. So let's say I want to draw a hexagon. I click on anywhere. I make sure the size is 6. The radius is not really important for now. You can just resize it later up anyway. So put 6 there, and that's it. You get a hexagon. And you can use the selection tool to resize it. If you want it to be proportion, you click shift. You hold on shift while you drag. That's it, you get yourself a hexagon. Let's say if you want to rotate the shapes that you choose, you can go to the corner and you will see something like a curved arrow. You can just rotate it. Okay. If you want to rotate it in a degree that, let's say 45 degrees at once, you can just hold on shift while you rotate. So it's around 45 degrees per turn, per rotation. All right. And next, we have the paintbrush tool, which is not normally used in Illustrator. Pencil tool also not commonly used. Block tool, no. Eraser tool, not really. Rotate tool, not really, not yet. And let's see what's important here. All right. The other important tool here is the shape builder tool. So, okay, let's say I want a shape that is overlapping between this hexagon and this triangle. So I want this shape, this part of the hexagon and this part of the triangle, and I don't want the rest. So I can use the shape builder tool to actually achieve that. So I'll show you how I would use the shape builder tool to do that. Use the selection tool. You can just highlight the shapes that you want to form. Let's say I want to form this shape. That's why I need to highlight the triangle and also the hexagon. They must be highlighted together. And then I go to my shape builder tool, and you can see, since there's an overlapping between these two shapes, you can choose which shape that you want to form. If you want to form this shape, you just click on here. If you want to form this shape, click on here. If you want this, then you click on here. Just now I mentioned I want this shape, so I would click here, and that's it. You have formed a shape here. How you don't understand how does it form? Okay, I will use the selection tool again, and I will delete the rest that's not there. See? After you deleted the extra bits, you have the tool that you form. You have the shapes that you form using the shape builder tool, right? It can work either way. Let's say if I want this shape, so I click here, I can remove this one. And see, I got this shape that I want. Without shape builder tool, you cannot achieve this. Let's say I delete this, I cannot get the overlapping shapes that I want, right? So that's the importance of the shape builder tool. And next we have Eyedropper Tool. Okay, so what is Eyedropper Tool? Eyedropper Tool essentially lets you pick color, right? So let's say I want to color this shape, the triangle. and I want a color that I found in a picture. It's not here. I want the color from a picture. So I go to, let's say I put in a picture here. I'll use this, okay, use this as an example. Right, so let's say I want the color from here, this color. So I would click on the shapes that I want to fill the color with, which is this triangle. I go to the eyedropper tool, and I click on the color that I want it to fill it with. And that's it, you get the color. Yeah, so that's the function of the eyedropper tool. All right. So the other way for you to color something is just to directly select a shape, click on it using the selection tool. You can either go here, which is at the left-hand side on your tool section, or you can go to here at the swatches. Swatches essentially works like your, your color palette when you're painting. So let's say I want this color. So just click on it, and that's it. You get the color itself. You get the shape filled with the color that you chose from the swatches. Or if you don't want colors from the swatches, you can just go to the color section here below the tool, double click, and you can choose whichever color you want from here. So I want this color, I just click OK, and that's it. You get the color that you want on the shape. All right. So another thing about shapes, you see, is that they have an outline. As you can see here, as I zoom in, this hexagon have a black color outline, right? So every shape that you draw would have an outline. So let's say I want the outline to change color. I don't like it to be black. So I will go same below the tools here. As you can see below this green color, there's a black color frame looking thingy. It looks like a frame. So you need to click on that frame thingy and double click. And that's it. You can choose the color of the shapes that, of the outline that you want. Okay, let's say I want this. Okay. So as you can see, as I zoom in, the outline is the color that I pick here. Okay. So next thing is that, let's say, if you want to change the thickness of the outline, you want the outline to be thicker. So you can just click on the shape that you want to edit, and you go up here. You can see, actually here you can also adjust the colors, right? So from here, here's the outline. The frame looking thing is the outline color and everything. So I go there, and sorry, should be my mistake. This is for color. So at your at the right hand side below, at the side of the color of the outline color, you can find the stroke. Stroke essentially means thickness of the outline. So you can click, let's say I want it to be thicker, around, let's say 9 points. And you can see the shape have a thicker outline already. And let's say you don't like outlines on this shape, then you can just go to the color here, up here, click on the outline section of the color, and choose this thing that has a slash on it. And that's it. You don't have outline colors anymore. You don't have outline anymore, right? So I have shown you all the basics tools that we would use in Illustrator. And let's move on to layers, right? So imagine layers is something like a lot of different transparent looking plastics that you can stack on top of each other. So the first layer is at the most bottom of the whole stack, and layer 2 here, because it is above layer 1. So let's say if it is in real life, it would be a transparent plastic that is one layer above the below of layer 1. So what does it mean? So let's say if I draw something on layer 1, you can see I chose layer 1. I draw something like a triangle, let's say. Sorry, I used a new one. Right, so I draw a triangle here. And you can see that the triangle is actually below the other two shapes. Why is it? Because the rectangle is actually one layer below the layer 2. Layer 2 is actually the triangle and the hexagon. So if I want to move this layer up, I want this to overlap the other two. So I will just click and drag layer 3 up. And that's it. You have layer, sorry. I can drag layer 2 down. And that's it. You have layer 3 above layer 2. So that's the function of layer. And other things about layer is that you can see here are eyes. There are eye icon at the left hand of the layer. So if I click on the icon, there's no eye here. That means the layers would be hidden. So if I want it to be on again, then I click on it again, just like that. And the next thing about Illustrator is that you normally can choose everything even though you are at different layers. Let's say if I'm at layer 3, I want to choose something from this layer. So I can still click on it even though I'm at layer 3 just now, right? That's the difference between Illustrator and Photoshop. In Photoshop, if you are at that layer, you can only adjust things that is in a layer. You can only click on the things that is on the layer that you chose. But in Illustrator, there's nothing like such, so you can still adjust things. So imagine if I have something at the background and I want to adjust only the things in front of the background. I don't want the background to be chosen every time I want to click something, right? So what I can do is that I can go to the layer of the background and click here at the empty section here, and you can see there's a lock. So if the lock is on the layer, that means you cannot adjust the layer anymore. You cannot click on the layer, you cannot adjust the layer. So you can safely adjust things that's above and would not bother to actually accidentally click on the layers that you lock. So let's say you want to edit the lock layer, then just click on the lock and it will disappear and you can adjust the things at the lock layer again. All right. So that's the basics of the tools that you can use in Illustrator that you need to know, right? So next, I will show you some example of how I would draw a logo out using an Illustrator. So let's start from scratch, right? So this is an empty layer. Start from layer 1. And then since logo, you would not normally draw directly here, like empty, nothing. You just use the shape tool and just draw everything. So what I would always do is to sketch it out using an iPad or on the paper. I took a picture of it and then I put it up here as a base for me to draw on using the Illustrator. So I go to File. Let's say I draw something and I want to put it here as a base for me to draw shapes on. So I go to File, I open the shapes that I want to draw. So let's say all right. Let's say I draw this. Sorry. Right. So I copy the shape that the things that I want to draw, and then on here I will paste the things that I want to draw on the first layer, and I normally would make the base layer to be more transparent, since if it is too bright, let's say example, then it's hard for you to draw something on and you won't know which one is the one that you draw, which one is the base. So I will click on the shape and go to the transparency here and change the opacity. I would normally tone it down until a transparency that I like, let's say around 40%. You can choose anything you like. And then I would normally lock the layer. So I won't adjust the layer in any way when I'm drawing on it, above it, right? And then I will draw things on different layer. One layer above the base layer just now. All right. So let's say I want to draw, the first thing that I would like to draw is this thing. This rectangle thingy, right? So I can use the rectangle tool. So I go to the rectangle tool and I draw it above. Okay. So let's say you would say, oh no, the color looks the same as the background. So it is hard for me to see if the shape is correct. So I will just change the color of the shape. So it would be obvious. See? Then I can see how the shape is actually drawn on. And let's say I don't like the size of the shape. I can just adjust it any way I like. Let's say I want to adjust it thinner. So I just go here and make it thinner. Right? So let's say I'm already satisfied with the rectangle. I want to move on with this DNA looks like something that looks like the DNA, the spiral. Okay, I want to move on to the blue colored spiral here. Then I will just zoom in and use the pen tool. Here I would love to use a pen tool instead of a line tool because it is a curve. So it'd be more easy to be achieved by using the pen tool. I click on the pen tool and I click on the points that I want to draw on. First point, second point, and then let's say third point, fifth point. Alright, so something happens here. If you notice, if I click like that, it will form a line, right? Instead of a curve that I want. So the magic about pen tool is that you can draw a curve using a pen tool. So how is it achieved? I'll undo this. I will click on the first point first. Okay, click here. And the second point I want to be curved. When I click on the second point, I would hold and drag. Okay, see what I mean. Click, hold and drag. You can see the curve is formed already, right? So I can continue to draw the shapes along with the curve. Okay, let's say I finish this up. Right. I make it really fast since we are short of time. So okay, you need to close the shape. Okay, after you have closed the shape, it forms a vector, a shape vector, right? So let's say, oh no, it is overlapping color with the first rectangle that I drawn just now. I want to look at the shape itself. I don't want it to be confused with the rectangle. So I can just change the color of the shape. Let's say I want it to be this color. And that's it, right? And since I drew these two things on the same layer, so I cannot adjust which one is in front of the other by adjusting a layer, since they are both on the same layer. So the other things that I would use to adjust the which one to be on the top of each other is just to right click on the shape that I want to adjust. I go to arrange, then I can just send to back, and that's it. The shape just now that I chose would be at the back of the other shape. That's how you would adjust things, the arrangement of the shapes, although they are on the same layers, right? Okay. So that's the pen tool and the rectangle tool. Okay, let's move on. Let's say I'm done with this. This is the final product that I did. Right, so this is the final product. Of course, alright. So imagine I'm not really satisfied with the color that this came out as, right? So I would like to choose a good color to match the shapes that I draw. One thing is for you to experiment it one by one. Let's say I want this, I can change the color like this, and I click here, and I adjust it one by one, right? But it is a lot of work since a lot of shapes for you to actually adjust at once. Like you want to make sure the color is nice, looks nice together. So there's one other hack that I would like to introduce you to, which is to find for online color palette. So I would go to Google Chrome now, and I would go to search for. Normally I would choose Adobe Color Chart. I already included the link to this website in the material files. You can check it later. So essentially what it would do is bring you to this website, and let's say you go back to Illustrator. You want the color to be this color. You like this color, but you're not sure how the other shapes should look like. What colors should they have to look nice, for the whole thing to look nice. So you can just double click here, and you take this code of the color that you want it to be. Let's say the code should be something with hashtag in front. So you copy the code, Control C, I click just now, and then I paste it here, Control V, right? And then you enter. So here they have ranges of color that you can choose from to actually match the first color that you chose. So there's a lot of different settings that you can use, like triad, monochromatic, complementary. So let's say I like this complementary color palette, and I want the other shapes to have a blue color. So I would just go to the blue color here, and I highlight and copy the color code and go back to my Illustrator. And let's say I want this shape to have that color. So I click on the shape, I double click on the color, and I paste it here after the hashtag, Control V, and I click OK. And that's it. You have the color of the code that you copied just now. So this is important for you to choose color that looks good together, that matches, right? So you can just play around. I'm sure you have the time, so you can just like play around this website and see how it actually helps you with coming out with a good color combination, right? And yeah, so that's how you choose color. Right. So the good thing about vector, when you are working with vector, is that let's say you draw the whole thing and you notice it is not centralized. It's not in the middle of the canvas. So it's not a big problem, since you can just adjust everything at once, like this, right? And you can place it in the middle. And that's it. You have the thing in the middle already. And the other thing I would like to introduce you is the grouping tool. So imagine I want all these blue colored shapes to have the same color every time I edit it. Let's say I want this shape, and this shape to always have the same color every time I edit them, right? So let's say I edit this one, this chocolate color, and you notice if every time you need to adjust this shape one by one, well, actually you just want them always to be the same color. It's a tedious book to actually click and then adjust again, and then oh no, it's not the same. Then you use the eyedropper tool and just click, and then you take the color. It's a lot of work, right? So let me undo this. And there's something that you can make your life easier. You chose the shape that you want to always edit them together. You want them to always be the same color. Every time you move them, you want it to be together. So you just group them together. So you click on all the shapes that you want to be grouped together. I click on this one, then I click shift and click on the other shape, and click shift and click on the last shape, and I right click and can just group them. So that's it, they are already being grouped. So every time you choose this one, the others will also be selected, the other shapes that you group them together with. So let's say I edit this one, I click here, I go to color and I adjust the color. The other shapes that have been grouped together will be adjusted as well. And then you can move them together also. See? If they are not grouped just now, if I move this, only this thing will be moved. Then every time you want to move them together, you need to select one by one, one again. Only then you can move them together. So you want your job to be easier, just choose all the tools that you want, right click and group. That's it. You can edit the color and even the movement together. Okay. So next, I would like to show you how I actually move my logo into a t-shirt. Okay, so I actually have a t-shirt template here, right? So I already included the template in the link also inside the chapter 2 material files under files section in our team. You can check it there. So in t-shirt template, that means you have this template already well prepared for you. And you look at all these layers here. So I'm sure you have the, if you can take some time to actually explore how the layers here works. Like different layers have different things they can edit. But essentially, let's say I am satisfied with this logo. I want to move it to a t-shirt. So I would just highlight the whole thing, copy, Control C, and I would move it to the template, and I would create an extra layer so that I would not mess it with other layer later on of the t-shirt, and Control V there. Just paste it at that layer. Right? And then imagine I like this base color that pairs well with my logo. So that means I want the shirt to be that color as well. So in the layers, you can actually choose the shape of the t-shirt. Right? So let's say I click on here and here, and I want the color to have this color, this blue color that I want. So I choose the shapes that I want to change the color, which is the t-shirt itself. Go to Eyedropper Tool, and I click here. And see, the t-shirt actually takes the color of the color that I want. And the sleeve you can actually choose again, and then use the Eyedropper Tool itself to take the color, right? And yeah, I'm satisfied. Let's say I'm satisfied with the base color. And next on, I would like to move the logo onto the t-shirt. So I would remove the background, so I would not highlight it. Okay. Then I would highlight the whole logo. I would like to group them together because every time I want to move them, I will hope that they won't separate when I choose one of the shape and then I drag and then, oops, the other shapes did not follow. Let's say I choose it. Oh no, this shape, only this shape being selected. So for my job to be easier, I would group them and move on to the top of the shirt. And then I would adjust the shape, the size and everything, and I will place it until I feel confident and I feel satisfied with the location of the logo. And other things that you can do here is to type on some words on your t-shirt using the type tool. Let's say okay. Then you can change the size of the words, like how I mentioned just now. Just drag it out. You can change the color of the words here, same as how you change for shape. I want it to be this color, and then I click OK, and I can change the font here. And is it bold or not, like bold, condensed, or anything. You can just adjust like what you would do in Microsoft Word. And a tutorial on how to download other fonts other than the one that is available here is already mentioned yesterday in the Photoshop workshop, right? Okay, so here are the basics of how you would use the tools for you to move the design that you already done onto a t-shirt. So I would like to explain a bit about what's the importance of using an Illustrator to do a t-shirt design for it to be printed. Okay, so generally, I classify t-shirt printing into two different categories. One is the t-shirt printing that uses something like a stamping. That means they print the color one by one. They print the shape one by one. That means if here they have a rectangle that is this color, so they would print the rectangle in this color one by one. This color first, and then the blue color second, and then the green color here, the third one to be printed, right? So, and the words too. Let's say the color of the words is this one. So, okay, so they will print the words also one by one. This shape, they will print one by one. A, S, C, L, E, T, I, U, S, right? So that's the first type of printing. They print the color one by one. So that means if you have more color on your t-shirt design and you want it to be printed, the cost would be more because you need to print a lot of complex colors onto your shirt, right? As compared to the other category of t-shirt printing. I forgot the words for it, but actually they print the shirt like how you would print on a paper. How you would use a printer to print on the paper. They will print the whole color at once. So that means you can design on the whole shirt. Any colors that you want. You want to put a tiger here with so many colors. I will show you an example of that kind of printing. So it's here. Sorry, I'm finding. Okay. So. All right. So here is an example of an example of how you can something that you can achieve using that kind of printing, in which you can put as many colors as you want. You can put gradient. You can place gradients. You can put pictures, and they will print the whole color out, the whole color nicely, like how you print a photo out, right? But the bad thing about t-shirt printing is that this kind of printing would cost you a lot more than the first kind of printing that I mentioned just now. Okay, as compared to this kind of printing. So, yeah, so that's why normally people would use this kind of printing and they would say, oh, I would like to minimize the amount of colors that I use so that the printing cost would be cheaper. Okay. Yeah, so that's essentially why you need to limit the colors that you have for a t-shirt design. And yeah, so normally this kind of printing also would not allow you to have gradient lah. Like let's say I have a shape here at the back that have this gradient of color. Okay, imagine now. I'm not really good at gradient, right? So imagine you have a shape here like this that you want to print on the back of the t-shirt, but you are using this kind of printing, the first category of printing. So normally the company would say, oh no, we can't actually print gradient like this. So that's why although you use this Illustrator to design your t-shirt, also remember not to use gradient colors on it, right? You can use this if you are using the second kind of printing that I mentioned just now, that you would print everything out exactly as how you would print a photo. Okay, so that's it about basics of and techniques of using Adobe Illustrator. Next, I would like to move on to how I would actually come up with a logo design. How is my thought process, right? So actually, I would like you all to look at this event that I actually did before. Okay. So this is Action 2019 that I'm actually part of the team, and I'm actually one of the publicity member. So I'm being asked to do a logo design of the event. So the first thing that pops in my head is that if I want to do the design, I would want to do a logo design. I of course need to understand what does the event itself actually means. So I move on to do some research, and I try to find out what actually this event is, right? So here is what I found out. What is action? So the action is these things, and from the description of the event itself, I found some really important things that I would like to incorporate in my logo design, right? So action, abbreviation of Asian Collaborative Training on Infectious Disease Outbreak, Natural Disaster and Refugee Management, is an annual transnational program organized by medical students for medical students. And Malaysia has been proudly selected as the host for this event. That means this event travels around different countries every year. So Malaysia is the host this year. So I think for us to be the host, it would be an interesting concept to incorporate Malaysian design into the logo. And the other things that I highlighted are infectious disease outbreak, natural disaster, and refugee management. So I move on. I think it's a bit like, all right. So the other thing that I would think is that who is the targeted audience for this event? Since the logo will be seen by the targeted audience, so I would like to know who would be targeted. So from the description itself, I found out that it is an annual transnational project for medical students to medical students from different countries. So some of the conclusion that I came out is, since it is an transnational event, so I would need to make the logo as professional as possible. It cannot be something like a game shop logo, in which can be really flashy, really gamer kind of vibe. So I want it to be professional, since it is a transnational event, and I would like it to be comprehensive. And since it is a medical event, so I would like to incorporate some of the medical elements into the design. Okay, so the next question I asked myself is to make some research on previous year's logo. Since it is a transnational event and they actually move from countries to countries every year, so that means the other countries must have at least some logo designs for their event. So I do some research, and I try to find out what does the other years did, what the other countries did. And I look at the words. I noticed that all of the design have the word action on it, and some of the design have the word of their country, the font of the words of their country there, like Japan, and also the year placed on the logo, like this one also for Action Tokyo 2018. So I think it would be a good thing to actually incorporate the word action, the year, and the country of the event on that year in the logo. So the next thing I move on is to ask myself, what are the elements that I would like to include in the logo itself? So the first thing that I noticed from the description of the event is that it is in Malaysia. So I would like to incorporate Malaysian elements into the logo. And other things that I have included here is the themes, right? So we notice that the theme are these three. The first one is about infectious disease management. The next thing is about disaster management, and the last is about the refugee management. So here are the elements that I would like to add into my logo. So what should I done? Then I would research more on individual elements. So for Malaysia, I go to Google Chrome, I search Malaysia, and I see a lot of things. And I try to think of what are the things that I can put in a logo. So one of the things that I have in mind when I look at all the search results that I found on Google Chrome after I type Malaysia is that, yeah, hibiscus is actually one of the things that I can add in, because hibiscus is our national flower. So if I put hibiscus there, then people would know this is actually a Malaysian event, because hibiscus is our national flower. And other things that I noticed is that our flag actually have kind of a good palette of color. Like our flag has blue color, we have yellow color, we also have green, red and white color. So I think, yeah, if I incorporate all these colors in the logo, then people would be more sure about this event is actually held in Malaysia, right? And here is the logo that I searched for after I type in hibiscus logo. Then a lot of logos came up for hibiscus. Then I noticed, yeah, I like this shape. So I would like to use this as an inspiration for my logo design. And then I researched on the other topics like infectious disease. So I found out that infectious disease is about all the microorganisms, all the bacteria, virus, parasites, and outbreaks. And the other thing that I noticed, infectious disease outbreaks normally has association with this thing called the biological hazard logo. So I see, yeah, the things look really simple. If I put in my logo design, then people would know, yeah, this is about biological hazard, and subsequently could be about infectious disease. So that's why I like this logo and I put as my inspiration. I like the color. Normally it is associated with yellow. So yeah, that's it. I have the element for infectious disease. And next I move on to research on disaster management. And to look upon the definition of disaster, I would think that this actually means natural disaster in this context. And thinking back, I noticed Malaysia have a lot of flood, right? So I would use flood as one of the elements for my logo design, and I just type in flood logos. Then this thing came out, something like a house submerged in flood, submerged in pool of water. So I like this design as it is simple enough to be placed as a logo. So I put this here as an inspiration. And then I move on to research on the last element, which is refugee management. So I go back and research on what is refugee, what are the refugees that we have in Malaysia, and I searched for some of the logos that I can use. And this came out, in which I see a bird that is flying, that's fleeing. So refugee, if you want it to be more creative, you can think of refugee as someone that has fled their own country. So I think a bird could actually signifies or kind of symbolizes that event. So that's why I think this bird here is actually a good element or a good inspiration for you to include in the logo. And so that's it, all the research that I have done before I move on to think about what are the shapes that I want for the logo. Since logo normally would fit inside a really small space, like either square or the rectangle. So I would like to think about what are the basic shapes that I want. So here, I noticed that from all this logo, they have a really nice circular shape, and I think they can look well together if I can make them come in one piece. Like hibiscus, can make it circle. Infectious disease, I can make it in a circle. The flood logo, the disaster part, can make it a circle, and the refugee logo can make it a circle. So in the end, I conclude I would like a circle. And the next thing is to combine all the elements together, the colors and the shapes. And I would move on to use my iPad, or you can use a paper, to sketch out all the logos using the elements that I have researched just now. And in the end, I am satisfied with these 4 that came out. The first one is the hibiscus, that I drew it like this in a circular manner. I like this design. I like the biohazard design for infectious disease, the flood, and for the refugee management part. And it looks like there's some bird that is fleeing something like a border. Since I draw dotted lines, it looks like a border, right? So, and I took some time to actually pick some colors from the Malaysian flag and put it on individual logos. And after I sketch the edges out, I would move on to draw it on Illustrator. So I would go and open up a, sorry, let me open up. I would move on to Illustrator. I would open up a new blank canvas. I would work from there. Sorry, let me find that. Yeah, should be here. All right. Okay, so open a blank canvas and I put on the base of the sketch that I drew just now, like how I have demonstrated in the first place, and I would draw using all the pen tools, all the shape tools, and I chose the color that I like and tried to bring it together. So the first thing that I did is for the hibiscus, I am satisfied with the color, I'm satisfied with the shape, and here actually is a circular region. Then I think, yeah, I think I can put in all the other logos for the other team inside the circular space here. So I move on. After I design the biohazard logo individually, I think it can fit right here. And I move on. I designed the logos for the natural disaster team. And I noticed, yeah, it looks well. And then I move on to design the last one using the sketch that I did before. Yeah, I like it like this. So in the end, the picture part of the logo looks like this, and I did not satisfy so quickly lah. It took a long time to actually find the right arrangement for everything to come together. But this is the finalized result that I like. And then I move on. Since if you put it like this, people would not understand what kind of event is this without the word, right? So I would use the text tool, the type tool, and I write out the word that I would like to include. And here it is. Action 2019 in Malaysia. Then I make sure that I didn't use too much color. I didn't alternate too much color because it would look too complex and too bizarre if there's too much color in one place, in one logo. So I choose the same color. Like this Malaysia, I choose this red. And the word action 2019, I choose the black that is already here, right? And I change the font until the font that I like. I change the size, I change the arrangement until I am satisfied with the arrangement. And that's it. I have the logo for Action 2019 in Malaysia, right? And I also mentioned that I would like to show you how logo design can actually impact the other designs, like poster designs, t-shirt designs, name tag designs and everything, or banner, bunting, right? So here is some examples that I use, that I made using the logo as an inspiration. Yeah, here's the backdrop that I made using the logo itself. Can see I still incorporated all the elements inside. The logos, the shapes, the color, and the hibiscus is still here. The words are still the same font, using the same font, and the color palette looks the same as the logo. And then I made a committee t-shirt using the logo itself. So you can see I put the logos here, I put the words at the back, and I make sure there's not too much color in the design so that I would not cost a lot of money when the printing is done. And yeah, so that's and one more, sorry, I think it's the name tag just now that I accidentally missed. Yeah, here's the name tag that I use the logo as the base photo. And since you have the logo design, everything you can just repeat the same logo design and put it in the new design that you want. Okay. So I'm proud. In the end, I am proud to present the final results of the designs that I made using the logo itself. So here are the committee t-shirt that I made, and this is the logo. You can see it's there. And looking at the name tag, you can see that the name tag also I use the same color palette, the same design from the logo. The member participants t-shirt that also uses the element from the logo. And this is the backdrop that is used for the event, also using the same design from the logo. Yeah, so that's it. That's how you can use a simple logo design to actually incorporate in all the other designs and make your job so much more easier, right? And here are some more examples of logo and how they are being used in other design. So here's another event that I have helped out in, which is an insight into medicine. It is a workshop. So I incorporated the word AIM into the design. I sketch it out, and when I'm satisfied, I put it here as a base. Then I lock it. Then I just draw everything out using the tools that I have. And this is the final product that I'm satisfied with. And using this logo, I have made a bunting using the same color palette and the same design, the same font, and so much more that I actually did with this, right? Yeah, so that's how a simple logo design can help you with other designs as well, and also the t-shirt and all. Okay, I think that's it from me. It's 9:08 right now. Is there any questions that you would like to ask? you can always check back the recording and we'll put it online in Facebook and also here in the team for you all to refer later when you all try out to explore Adobe Illustrator yourself. I will open to the floor for any questions if you have. Okay.
Yongchang,
yeah.
do you want to teach like how are you going to save the file, like export the file in what?
Yeah. Thanks for reminding me of that. Yeah. Sorry, I almost forgot. Right. Yeah. One thing that sorry. That's one more thing that I would like to teach you all about is that when you're designing something like banner and bunting, since it is to be printed, right? So don't forget to use the right dimension when you are making it new. Like you want to design this bunting and someone told you the shape needs to be, the dimension is about 30 inches, 30 inches to 10 inches. Then remember to use the correct size, okay? And remember to use CMYK since it is to be printed and designed. After you finish, let's say if you want to share this as an image for someone to review your design, so you would go to File, and you would go to, for me, I will use Save for Web, right? For it to be an image, like JPEG or PNG. I could go for Save for File, Save for Web, sorry. Then it would generate the final product. It's quite big lah. So because this bunting is quite big, so it looks really large. And then after you are satisfied, you can choose the file type. You want it to be JPEG, PNG, or anything. Change the quality and you can export here. Then you can just hit save. Okay, then you can choose where you want to save it and just you can get the image in the format that you want, which is JPEG or PNG. And for you to save it as an Illustrator folder, Illustrator file, can just hit File and click Save As and name the thing. Let's say, then remember, save as Adobe Illustrator and just hit Save, right? And that's it. You have the file for Illustrator. And let's say someone else that would like to edit this thing, you can just share this Illustrator file to them and they can open in their Illustrator and adjust everything. Okay, so yeah, that's how you would save and export images. Yeah, okay, so I've seen here Kaiwei has some questions. So the first question is about which app do I use when I'm sketching on my iPad? Okay, so the iPad that I bought is equipped with an Apple Pencil. So there's actually a ton of app that you can use. I'll type it out here. So the free one would be Sketchbook. It's free, so you can actually use it and download it for free. And the other things that's more professional, that means you need to pay for it, is Procreate. Yeah, so this is more professional app that you can use in iPad. I use it for all my illustration, all my sketching. But I think the Sketchbook app, which is free, is more than enough for you to sketch something up. Okay? Yeah. And explain about format of saving logos after creation. So for me, I don't really have a lot of different format that I would like to use, that I would use, but essentially, let's say this is the action logo, right? And I would like to save this with transparent background. That means afterwards, when the image is being used for other things, like you want to put it on a Microsoft Word, you want to make sure there's no white background at the back, right? So you make sure you close your background. Actually, the background is this layer 11. After I close it, I would like to save this as an image. So I go to Save for Web, that's what I did just now. And I would like to make sure it to be a PNG, because only PNG can have this transparent background, right? So PNG, click on transparency. If you didn't click on transparency, they would automatically give you a white background. Click on transparency and then hit save. And then just save it and you have it. The logo would be in transparent background. And if you like the background, either you can draw yourself the background, put it on, or when you are saving it as an image, you just undo the transparency and you automatically will have a white background. All right. Anything else? Let me see. Yeah, we've seen Rachel shared here. There's a Medibank pin before. I never heard of the app, but I think it would be really useful. Thanks for sharing, Rachel. Okay. Anything else you all would like to ask before we end the session? Okay, there seems to not have any questions left. So, in the future, if you are trying out the program itself, Adobe Illustrator, and you have any questions at all in the process, even after this workshop, after long due after this workshop, you can just ask in the group, or you can just approach us individually about the advices that or questions that you would like us to answer, right? You can use the Microsoft Teams as a platform for you to ask anything. And later on, we will include also a feedback form for you all to fill in to give feedback on this session so that we can improve on tomorrow's session. And yeah, before we end, I would like to thank everyone for tuning in, and I hope you actually learned something from the session. Thanks. All right.